What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood podcast. I am Jay Hood. Right there. That's my crazy cousin, Cuzzo Wiley. And we're here for the Under the Hood podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube as well as on Twitch. And, of course, the podcast as well. Cuzzo, how are you on this fine Monday?
I am doing well. How are you feeling, Cuzzo?
I feel great. Back in Chicago after some time in East Texas.
Nice.
I got some stories for you, sir. Some stories. I know in your travels, you've been a lot of places, but I got to tell you about a couple of places I was at over the week.
So you left Texas right before Juneteenth. So you got the memo before Juneteenth that
Maybe I didn't raise any dummies. Knew exactly when to leave. Right. Well, don't forget to be able to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast, Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood, as we do this. And Cuzzo, we've got not only this podcast, not only being on Facebook and on Twitch and on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button for all, by the way, for this podcast. But also we have merchandise as well.
Yes, we have merchandise. And as I've said many times, like for 30 years, you've invited my cousin, Jay Hood, into your car, into your office, into your home, and for him to entertain you, provide you with the best overall sports knowledge you can find in Chicago. And as you know, he genuinely appreciates the support. He does. And we have another way for you to support him. We have Under the Hood merchandise. So Jay Hood went to his suppliers and he told them, I need you to go to the top shelf for this merchandise. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. So right here, what we have right here is the Under the Hood tumbler. This is high quality tumbler made of stainless steel. It will keep your coffee, your tea, whatever your morning, evening beverages of your choice, it will keep it nice and warm for a long time. And then we have the Under the Hood water bottle. As you all know, if you're carrying around that plastic water bottle from your local Jewels in the summertime, yes, it can get a little hot. And when it gets hot, that water is not so good. So get yourself one of these Under the Hood water bottles. It will keep your water for the summer nice and cool, or whatever your beverage choice is. It will keep it nice and cool throughout the summer. You don't have to worry about the summer heat heating it up. Pour it inside this Under the Hood water bottle, quality Under the Hood water bottle, and you'll have yourself a nice and cold beverage during the summer. And they went to,
more.
They told Cousin Hood, they said, hey, we got these cheap shirts that, if you wash it, you can only get one or two wears out of it. And Cousin Hood said, no, I don't want that. Go back to the top shelf. We want restaurant quality shirts right here. So we have this Under the Hood shirt that's made of very breathable material, some of the best material. So during the summer months, if you want to put it on, it'll keep you nice and cool, and you can wash it and wear it as many times as you want. So support the Under the Hood merchandise and take photos in it, share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, or whatever your social media sites that you subscribe to, and just let Hood know how much you appreciate the high quality entertainment analysis he provided you for over the past 30 years.
Yes, I appreciate that. And, of course, that T-shirt has been worn by many in Cuzzo Wiley's home. I'm just glad that it's still packed, by the way. You can tell from the chest area that many have worn it in his home. But the link tree is on the bottom right there, linktree.com/jhoodradio. That's where you can pick up the merchandise. It doesn't cost you anything to look, but I would love for you to represent the podcast that you're watching right now, Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Make sure you leave your comments too, by the way. We'll read your comments throughout the show either on Facebook, on Twitch, or on YouTube. Please leave your comments. Also, leave 5 stars, a review, whatever you have to do on the podcast end as well. We just appreciate you checking out the program. We got a lot to talk about. We have a special guest coming up in a half hour now, Shakia Taylor from the Chicago Tribune, to talk about the Chicago Sky. We'll start here with the Chicago Sky. We want to talk about the biggest story of the last, I would say, 72 hours. As I'm flying back, Cuzzo, I keep reading about the fallout from the Indiana Fever against the Chicago Sky. The game took place, days are starting to leave me. This is on Saturday, right?
Saturday, yes.
Okay, Saturday afternoon. Before Peacock and I went out to shop or, go kick it, I said, I know it's 11 o'clock. I said, but we need to be able to watch this, okay? Because this is a big game. It's Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever. The reason why it's a big game is because it's Angel Reese and company with the Chicago Sky, and it's Caitlin Clark for Indiana Fever. The college rivalry renewed.
Yes.
At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and I said we got to see this. I didn't see the last numbers because, again, I've been traveling, have not seen what the TV numbers was for, but I'm sure that many people were locked in on a Saturday morning checking out to see what this game was going to be about. Let me give you my thoughts on Caitlin Clark, and I want to get your reaction too, Cuzzo. So first of all, Caitlin Clark being in the WNBA is a good thing. Her existence in the WNBA reminds me of Tiger Woods in golf, or Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and the like in the NBA, because someone has to be able to light the torch.
Yes.
Someone has to do that. And it was Caitlin Clark. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing to do with the women that came before her that was able to pave the road to where the women are in WNBA today. But ultimately, Caitlin Clark is in the league because people were enamored with someone that could shoot a basketball, a woman that could shoot a basketball 35 or 40 feet, that can shoot it like Steph Curry. Again, when we saw Steph Curry shoot the basketball, we were just enamored by the amount of times that he could shoot it from distance. Same thing with Caitlin Clark. It wasn't that Iowa was great. It was just about how she was great. And she elevated the women's basketball game. To that point, she goes to the WNBA, a lousy Fever team. This is not a shot at Leah Boston. The team's not very good. She comes there, and all of a sudden now, women have an opportunity to be able to travel, getting on planes, charter planes to be able to go back and forth. Now, the WNBA arenas are not big enough for Caitlin Clark and the Fever. They got to go to NBA arenas. That is success. That's progress. But here's my disconnect. My disconnect is the amount of people that are trying to come to Caitlin Clark's rescue, to her aid, like, oh my God, you can't foul Caitlin Clark. You can't hurt Caitlin Clark. You can't play her hard because she's been able to bring all this to WNBA. I find it interesting, the hypocrisy of some fans that pine for the 80s of basketball when it was rough and tough from the foul line down. Guys are getting punched. Guys are getting hit in the kidney. And it was okay because that's how people loved the NBA at that time. Now, it happens in the WNBA with Caitlin Clark where, hey, there's women, not just the Sky, other women are pushing out of the lane, showing how physical the league is, and now that's a bridge too far. That's just bullshit to me. It is. Because it's a welcome to the league rookie moment. And it happens for everybody in sports. Caitlin Clark has a big spotlight on her, but for everybody gets that, hey, welcome to the league, kid, that kind of thing, right? And so it's happening to her now, but now, can't do that because that's a bridge too far. It's the Sky are a dirty team. Oh, the women in the league are thugs. I've seen it all over the last 72 hours. I'm just here to tell you that the league has always been physical. Now people are just noticing. And you could thank, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all the newcomers in the league for that.
So I was looking at a reel, I believe it was on maybe Instagram, or could have been Facebook, of LeBron James talking about when he was getting drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers, of how his own teammates talked about, him joining the team. Not as someone who could elevate the team, or be some megastar. They talked about him just being a guy to, as I think Carlos Boozer said, or hop on a bandwagon, and if you think of someone with LeBron's talent, going to a team that was last place, you should be happy to get someone who has the potential to, be a megastar on your team, but his teammates didn't feel that way. So you see someone like Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA,
Mhm.
and you see the talent and the attention she's bringing to the league, and that all that's great. And there is some jealousy because as there always is, you have you have women like Cheryl Miller, Lisa Leslie's, the Candace Parkers, even the Cheryl Swoop, even right now the Diana Taurasi's of the world, who helped pave the way for this current and future crop of women to be able to have the level of financial success they're going to have going forward. And I think that's great for sports in general. I think it's great for women's sports, particularly because right now you have, little girls or young women who may not want to sit at home and be housewives like my guy Harrison Bucker wanted them to be. And
Yeah.
this is another opportunity for them to have to be able to go out into the field and make a lot of money and be successful. So I like it, but to your point earlier, when you mentioned Magic and Bird, I think you need that sort of rivalry of the Angel Reese, the Caitlin Clarks, similar to the Magic and Bird dynamic, to help elevate the league to a new level. And for better or worse, you're going to have some racially charged rhetoric attached to something like that.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to a certain extent, as long as the product on the court continues to be, a quality product, because you need antagonists. You need antagonists to make storylines more compelling. You're a wrestling guy, so you know this more than a lot of sports fans. You need the heels, to, make a storyline in a match compelling. And I think you have similar dynamics with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You have Angel Reese, the more charismatic and cool player, and you have Caitlin Clark, the more tough, lunch pail type of gal, similar to the Magic and Bird dynamic, where Magic was the cool one and Bird was more of the tough lunch pail kind of guy. So I think it works. And I think you have the women now coming into the league as millionaires. That's a great success for the league. And you have the Trailblazers who helped pave the way. And a lot of them don't have the same financial success. So they, maybe feel some kind of way about that. The storylines to me don't really matter. Just continue to put out a quality product. It's going to continue to help elevate the game. And I think we're seeing it right now. Even though you had a 3-4 team with the Sky coming in against a 1-win team prior to the victory of the Fever, it's still a good storyline. We're talking about it, we're watching it, and everybody's interested in the WNBA. And this is not something that we can say was true, 20 years ago or 5 years ago. So
3 years ago.
I think it's good.
This right here is money. This right here is money. What we have on the screen for our podcast listeners is we're showing up on YouTube a picture of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. That's money right there. You know why? Because it was money in college.
Yes.
And so now it's coming over to the WNBA. And by the way, that becomes a must watch. No matter the record of the Indiana Fever, I'm watching Caitlin Clark because I've never seen an athlete like her before as far as the way she shoots the basketball. I've seen better players, obviously, but she's a rookie. But she was phenomenal in college. Angel Reese also played at LSU at a very high level. Excellent ball player. I was excited. You and I talked about this. The excitement of having Cardoso and having Reese on the Chicago Sky, 2 in the top 10 of the draft. I said, the Sky are back, if nothing else. But we have to understand this. Angel Reese in college was a heel, meaning that she was a bad boy or bad girl in this situation, right?
Yes.
LSU, for many, LSU, because their head coach or because their team were the bad girls. And everyone and others were on the other side said we're in the South Carolina because of Dawn Staley and because of South Carolina and the winning streak, how they've kind of taken over UConn as far as that's concerned. So even that was box office. Even LSU, who does not mind wearing the black hats, like, yep, we're those people. Absolutely. There's no question that we are the bad guys or the bad girls. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what's happened, Wiley, to our sports society where now you can't look at someone and say, well, no. If they're bad, if they're the bad people or the bad girls or bad boys, then they can't be in the league or they're dirty or they you know what? That's good for the WNBA. You
It
know what the
is.
WNBA was lacking? They had great, there's always been solid basketball. They're like stories.
Yes.
Stories.
Yeah.
And right there, that's a story. Now, we get into the story of Caitlin Clark, who in this matchup against the Chicago Sky on Saturday, there was a hard foul that occurred. It was Kennedy Carter from the Chicago Sky, a hard foul on Caitlin Clark, in which Carter shoulder checked Clark from behind and knocked her down before the basketball was inbounded. It was upgraded to a flagrant one on Sunday. And by the way, it should have been.
It should.
But it's not the end of the world, though. That's my point. Caitlin Clark said that I grew up with two brothers, and she says you have to find a way to hold your own. She says I'm definitely prepared for it. She doesn't need these pro clutchers, men and women, to try to come to like, oh, you can't do that to Caitlin Clark. How can you do that? Hey, by the way, there have been riots at WNBA games that no one's known about because they didn't cover it.
Right.
There's been great players I've followed from college to pros in the WNBA in which we saw women come to blows because of physical play. No one talked about it. It was at the end of SportsCenter, or it was in the agate part of the paper, or in barely a blip on ESPN. Now it's a big deal because of Caitlin Clark. My point is that the Chicago Sky, with Angel Reese and with Carter and everybody else, if they're going to be the bad girls, fine, have at it. If that's your persona, that's fine. Like, look, you don't want to have a bunch of cheap shotters out there. But what I'm saying is that if that's the way that they're going to play with an edge, go ahead, go right ahead.
So I look at the play as welcome to the league, rookie.
Yes.
A play. You have Caitlin Clark, talking shit and backing up, but she's talking shit during the game, and you have a veteran player, just a little minor hip check. So it wasn't a play where she's going to the basket and she was snatched out the air. It wasn't the 80s, early 90s Pistons and Knicks. It wasn't a play like that. It was, a hip check. She fell, but it wasn't something that can hurt her and, shorten her career in any way, shape, or form. So I didn't get the over-the-top rhetoric about, oh my God, this is dirty. Oh my God, they're trying to hurt her. No, it was a basketball foul. We've seen playgrounds. We've been on playgrounds, all of our lives. We've seen the way the game is played, and that type of play is something you see in every league. Not just the WNBA. You see it in high school, probably even in some AAU and grade school games. So to me, it was nothing. Caitlin Clark had the right reaction. She was like, hey, this is nothing. I'm prepared for this. And, she bounced up and they won the game. So no issue with it. And again, it's a compelling storyline, and they're continuing their college rivalry, a la Bird and Magic. And I think that storyline could sell a lot of tickets, sell a lot of merchandise, and continue to grow the WNBA. So I'm all for it.
You know what? Angel Reese is a young person, and I would tell her, you're more than just a ball player. You're a brand.
Yes.
She's at the Met Gala. She's going to learn. This is a big city. I know that we're so Bears-centric, Cubs and Sox-centric. We got the Blackhawks, Bulls, everything else. But the Sky are a story. Not because it's just we're about to embark on the summer, they're a story. But what I would tell her is like, look, you're a star here, and you keep going this direction. Now you and Caleb Williams and Connor Bedard and the young folks, you're all going to be together, right? As far as young players in Chicago, that's kind of just making a difference. What I would suggest to Angel Reese, couple things. One is like, you have to meet with the media. Yeah, I know she probably want to lose to the Indiana Fever on Saturday. She was fined $1,000 because she didn't make herself available. The Sky were fined $5,000 for failing to ensure that all the players comply with league media policies. So that's $6,000 out of that game because the Sky lost. Now look, your brand, win or lose, you got to be able to speak. The other thing is that and when she talks about Caitlin Clark, this whole thing, like one of her teammates didn't want to talk about Caitlin Clark. No, Channing Carter, you have to talk about it. You have to, because she's in the league. You may, give her a little bit of a shot, and you want to be able to just, hey, welcome to the league, but you still have to talk about it. This whole thing, like, I'm not taking any Caitlin Clark questions, that does not work. You can't do that. But from an Angel Reese standpoint, I also want to say this too. She still feels like she's not getting shine. And I'm going to tell her that you are getting shine. She made some quote. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing. Something along the lines of, I know Caitlin Clark is here, but I'm also here as well. We see you.
Yes.
You understand that you are a difference maker in this league. If not now, then moving forward. So this idea that she feels like she's less than, that's something that she has to work out on herself. She's a brand. She has commercials. She's all over Instagram. She was at the Met Gala. She plays in a major city. This whole thing that she's less than, she's not less than. Caitlin Clark put in place because she was great at what she did in college, and she helped change things for the league. It doesn't mean that Angel Reese is in the back seat. She's with the other rookies that's making a difference in the league, I would say.
I agree. I don't know if she truly believes it or if it's something that she says to help give her an edge. But she is a role model. She is someone that a lot of young ladies and young girls look up to because of not just her talent on the basketball court, but because of she's an attractive young woman. And a lot of young ladies and young girls see her as someone who was cool, kind of like, a lot of people did for Magic. So I don't know if she's using that as motivation. And if she is, great, continue to lean into it and say, hey, I'm here too. That helps you on the basketball court. But yes, she has nothing to worry about as far as people being able to see her. And her bank account should tell her that because she's a millionaire right now.
Yes.
So we all see her. We see the phenomenal young talent she is. We see the potential brand that she's going to be. And it's great. It's great for sports. It's great for, it's great for young girls, young women. And I just hope it continues. And the city is buzzing right now. Like the Wintrust Arena, like it's buzzing. Like her celebrity is on par with the Caleb Williams of the world. And years ago, you couldn't have said that about any Chicago Sky player. So it's a great time.
I would like to also address Pat McAfee from ESPN. I don't know if he thinks he's on WWE TV or if he thinks he's doing his own podcast. I know he travels a lot and does a lot of content. Referring to Caitlin Clark as one white bitch for the Indiana team who is a superstar is just totally out of pocket. Did you see?
Did he have? I didn't see. Did he have a beer in his hand with his wife beater on when he said that?
He did not. No, he did not. He did not say that.
Then he wasn't on brand then.
No, it was not. He took umbrage with the media's overhyping of this year's rookies, stating that while she doesn't know if Clark is the GOAT, currently has what we describe as a cash cow. Yes, she is a cash cow for the league. Yeah. No question about that. I just thought that phrase that he used, and he's used it several times, calling her a white bitch is weird. Because it's kind of like, okay, let me use that. Let me get on the air and say, Caitlin Clark, let me use that and see how long I've still got my job. First of all, it's unnecessary. And secondly, it makes men look bad as a whole, in which you don't know how to cover a women's sport. You think that you're clever by calling her that? I mean, if you want to do that in WWE storyline, if they tell you to do that, that's fine. I just think that's out of pocket. I don't know why he did that.
Yeah, that isn't. It's classless because, as to your point, there was no need to attempt to be that clever because we're already talking about them. You're not getting any extra attention by using rhetoric like that and demeaning Caitlin Clark and women in general by calling them bitches. So I'm not sure what the point of it was, but hopefully ESPN whispers in his ear and tells him to dial that back in the future.
Eric Collins checking in. What's up, EC? Good to see you. Jay Crit is checked in. Thank you very much. Has it been 20 years, Jay Crit? Probably so. Good to hear from Stephen Bardo. By the way, Bardo's breakdown, because if you have not subscribed to Bardo's breakdown, even through the summer, where the man has got a classic beard, he's looking good with that beard right now. By Stephen Bardo, my guy from the Flying Illini, great podcast. I learned a lot from college basketball watching him. So check out Bardo's breakdown. A lot of times I'm sharing it over here on Facebook, by the way, his feed. So I just want people to be able to support Steve, because I support him. Definitely support him. That's for sure. Eric Collins reminds us of the Detroit Shock versus the Sparks 2008 caused a brawl. That's on YouTube, by the way, that whole thing. I was able to see that. So, EC, thank you for the reminder of that. Horseman checks in, says, I'm glad to see you guys back together live. It's been a while, Hoodie. Get a lineup and grow a better beard, I guess, as he says, grow better bread. I got plenty of bread, so I don't need to grow much bread. I spent 2 hours with my guy when I get my taxes done. So, Horseman, I don't need to grow up better bread. I got plenty of and by the way, this is vacation. I don't need to line up anything.
Right.
I'm totally fine with that. I got vacation, so I'm good. Mark says, to whom much is given, much is required. She earned a spot. Now it's time to produce. If you're talking about Caitlin Clark, you know what? I would say that her teams that she's going to be on will succeed. I just think that she's a tremendous talent, but it kind of shows you where the fever have been. Again, no shot at Leah Boston, but again, you can't win by yourself. You can't win
get the first pick for a reason. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't with just 40-foot jump shots. She's going to have a team around her. The whole point of it, and it's not, and by the way, it's not time. It's not time for the team mascot. Why is the mascot trying to check in already? Someone rang the doorbell, so he was
Can't have that.
Yeah.
Can't have that. So anyway, so that's just my whole thing, like, on that. So again, it is the most overhyped hip check in the history of the WNBA.
Yes. But it's another storyline for the league. So I guess that's a positive in some way.
It is, but it is. I just want Angel Reese and the Sky to understand, whatever happens, your young team, meet the media, with them, find out what's going on. Again, express yourself, because you represent not only the league, but you represent your brand and the Chicago Sky. You got to be able to do that.
I completely agree, and I think, especially Angel Reese, I think she's going to learn. Carter has bounced around a little bit, so she's just trying to stay in the league for a change. But I think Angel Reese is definitely going to learn and do a better job of making sure she protects her brand, and obviously continue to grow it.
Kenny Williams, my broadcast partner on UIC Flame, says, hey, the cash cow can't get hurt. That's true. That's certainly true about that. Again, I mean, whether she's going to be down for a few games or not, I mean, she's one of the draws. Not the whole draw, but she is one of the draws, main draws for the league. There's Rakia Jackson, there's Cameron Brink, there's Cardoso, there's Reese, there's Clark. I mean, it goes on for a while of the young talent and the veteran talent that's in that league. So here's hoping all the best. By the way, my friend, don't forget to be able to leave your comments, by the way, on our conversation. Leave your comments and we'll read them on the air, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitch or on YouTube. Make sure that you check in with that. By the way, we have a special guest that is scheduled to join us, in Shakia Taylor from the Chicago Tribune. Let me just tell you, I'm so looking forward to these NBA playoffs. I got to tell you about it, because with Dallas against Boston has just been chilling, waiting, to the point where I had to ask you, I'm like, hey, who's in the league? Who's representing the East? Because Boston's away for so long, and so now we know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are expecting a Boston, if not sweep, for them to win in 5. I mean, they have the talent, but when you got the backcourt tandem, some say it's the best ever, it's going to be tough because you got to stop him. You got to stop him. And Luka and Kyrie have shown they can be not just clutch, but just box office throughout the playoffs. So it should be a great series.
Who do you have?
I got Boston in 5.
5.
And here's the truth, Cuzzo. It pains me to say that because, I've been a Boston hater most of my life. So Boston hater as a kid because they were in the East. And then I was a Kobe fan. So when Kobe started to face them later towards the middle of his career, I grew to hating him again because no, I need Kobe to get these championships and you're in his way. So it pains me to root for a Boston team, but I think that the talent-wise, it's going to be hard for them to lose that series.
Okay, but let's talk a little bit about Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie.
Yes.
I mean, think about with Kyrie Irving. He has said nothing to anybody. He has just been playing basketball, not bothering anybody, not bothering a soul. All that man is doing, and he's showing you, by the way, if nothing else, he's showing you exactly the top guard that he has been his entire career. I know that people can point out moments like, hey, you were not clutch here, you're not clutch there. But what I've seen in the playoffs is a reminder that either with Boston, with Cleveland, and not Brooklyn, but in a lot of places that he's been pretty clutch, man. Look, we can go through a litany of lead guards in today's NBA. It'd be hard pressed not to look at Kyrie Irving and say, top 10, top 8, top 6. Yes, chopping it off. But I mean, Kyrie, the way he finishes at the rim, I've just been very impressed with him all season because I didn't think that Dallas would be a fit with he and Luka, and it seems like it's worked out well.
But I think you also have to tip your hat to Jason Kidd as well. Here's a Hall of Fame guard and probably one of the top 5 point guards in NBA history as a coach. Like that level of knowledge that he can share with a player, and then the trust that Kyrie has in him, that goes a long way. It goes a long way. And he's helped elevate Luka's game because we saw for a while Luka would, struggle a little bit when it came time for like the nut check time. He would, have some issues. And
did you say nut check time, by the way?
Yes, nut check time. That's the important time in the game. And now he's become a better player when it matters most. And I think Kyrie has a lot to do with that, as well as Jason Kidd.
Jason Kidd, by the way. And what if, now here's the thing, what if he wins the championship? What if? I mean, because that could happen too. Like Boston, the question is for Boston, Cuzzo, is it rest or is it rust?
Right. So far, I would probably say rust because even last series, we saw them struggle to put away the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they finally decided, like, oh, you know what, let's end this game right here. But they were struggling to put them away. So when you have a team that's that talented, who's just been like, okay, sort of coasting through the season, coasting through the playoffs, and when it's time they kind of turn it on, that can bite you in the ass, if you get down in the series, because now you have Tatum and company, feeling a little more pressure. And when you start to feel pressure, that could change things quickly. So they need to come out and get game 1 and game 2. And if they do that, then they're going to coast. But if they give up one of these first 2 games, they could be in for a long series.
Okay, it's one thing for you and I to continue to talk about basketball, but what about an award-winning journalist? Would you like that?
I would love that.
Okay, so you step aside.
All right.
Let's have someone that knows what they're talking about, and Shakia Taylor from the Chicago Tribune. She joins us here on the Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood podcast. Shakia, it's Jonathan and Cuzzo Wiley. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Curly Fro, I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time. I said, but you know what? I need to have the right opportunity. This is the right opportunity because this has been quite the firestorm what's going on in the WNBA, and I think actually it's a good thing. I'll start with context. I said that attention on the WNBA from a storyline standpoint is a good thing to be able to have this discourse going back and forth about what's happening with the Sky, the Fever, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on how the media has covered Caitlin Clark as a whole?
I think Caitlin Clark's coverage has been tremendous, right? I think she's being covered in a way that people are not used to seeing a young woman be covered before. In the same vein, I do think her coverage has become so ballooned. It's so huge that we're missing a lot of the other storylines, the other things happening within the WNBA. This is an opportunity for new fans, new viewers, new people who are maybe just dipping their toes in the waters of WNBA fandom to use Caitlin Clark's story as sort of a launching point to get into the ins and outs and the other really cool things happening. And that's not what's happening at all. It's been very Caitlin centered all the time.
So do you think the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese dynamic is a positive for the league, or to your point, would you like to hear more about a Suns team that's undefeated, or some of the other talent in the league along with that?
I think both things can happen at the same time. I really do. I really think we can have a lot of fun with conversations about Caitlin and Angel and the potential of a rivalry there. I think we can have a ton of fun about, who won the chip, who didn't win the chip, all of that. But I think at the same time, we can talk about a DeWanna Bonner, right, who is already having an amazing season. And her partner and teammate Alyssa Thomas on the Sun, right? She's a walking triple-double. This is there's great things happening. I think the problem is not that it's an either or situation, but a why not both? And we're getting so much of one and not enough of the rest of it.
So, Shakia, I mentioned earlier that when it comes to Angel Reese, I want her to understand, from my standpoint as a fan of the WNBA and the Sky, that we love her. And if she wants to have a black hat on, I got no problem with that. I have no problem. If she wants to be a heel or play with an edge, I have no problem with that. I would just ask you, what do you think the perception is of Angel Reese? From college to pro, do you believe that there's been a change?
I think it's all situational. I think to a certain degree, Angel Reese has embraced a title or a role given to her, right? I don't think she necessarily wanted to be the villain. I don't think she was necessarily trying to be the villain. I think the title was bestowed upon her based on, the two of them and that back and forth. And she leaned into it. And I'm with you. I think if she wants to be that, if she wants to lean into, being a heel, if she wants to lean into being sort of the anti-Clark or, the Lex Luthor to Superman, then I'm okay with that. As long as it's a choice, right? I think there's a difference in us as fans or media sort of giving someone a role and someone taking that role on for themselves. There's a delicate dance there. She's certainly owning it regardless of how it came. She's absolutely owning it. Her comments even kind of lean into it. But I think there's a little bit of truth underneath the exterior, right? I think there's a little bit of, you're not talking about me. I am also as good as advertised. My game did translate to the league. You're talking about this one person so much. There's that. It's not even subtle anymore. I'm not even going to call it subtle. It's there. She's saying it. She's straight up saying it isn't just one person bringing interest to the league. I'm here too. And I think that is what people are going to view her as the villain as, right? Like her just simply saying, hey, what's up? I'm here. I'm dope. I got all this extra cool stuff going on. Look at me too. I think that's also part of it. That's what's going to have people painting her as sort of the villain.
Locally, with the Sky getting 2 top 10 picks, and then nationally, the WNBA is being covered a lot more than it ever has. Like even today, you had Monica McNutt on First Take talking to Stephen A. Smith, and she was appreciative that, someone like Stephen A. Smith was using this platform to cover the league. But to her point, she was like, you could have done the same thing a few years ago. Why now? What's your take on the current coverage and to Monica McNutt's argument of like, hey, we've been doing great things for years. Where have you been?
I think the current coverage it just is what it is. It's exactly what the WNBA and longtime fans, I would say, have been wanting is more coverage. They wanted more exposure. They wanted more conversations. They wanted more eyes on the league. They've wanted more investment. They wanted more brands. But I don't think anyone thought about what comes with growth. And what comes with growth are the not so fun parts, right? It's the discourse. It's you got people who have never watched games before in their lives, who have all of this knowledge now, who are suddenly experts. And you have men, who have sat on TV for years with a platform and didn't really take time to give the league any sort of conversation or coverage, who are now coming in guns a-blazing. I know what's going on. I know the culture. I know what these women are thinking. I know. And everyone who's been around for a minute, whether it be casually or you're a diehard, they're like, hey, pump the brakes. Like, pump the brakes. And I think there's this weird sense that longtime fans and, veteran players owe a debt of gratitude to Caitlin Clark and all of the people who have decided to pay attention now. And it's creating this environment of conflict. There's so much conflict, and the positive to, say, a Stephen A. or a Shannon Sharp or a Pat McAfee talking about what's happening in this league is sort of lessened in the fact that a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about. And as sports fans, regardless of race or gender, that's not something we typically go for, right? Like, we're not big fans of people who enter sports spaces without knowledge. We're not big fans of people who enter sports spaces without respect to the GOATs, respect to the greats, respect to the past, having some knowledge of stats. You guys wouldn't have me on if I didn't talk about sports or, write about sports. And I think that's what a lot of people are asking is at least pay attention. And if you don't know, you don't know. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But there's a lot of weirdness right now in the space with this. And I don't think that it's that men shouldn't talk about the game. I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is that everyone put a little more time in watching the games and learning the players and telling other stories. I mean, as a writer, I don't look at a story and go, oh my God, this person's writing about it. I'm gonna write about it too. Mm-hmm. But that seems to be what's happening right now is we're just getting the same stories over and over and over again. I mean, goodness, we're talking about a flagrant foul for like the 4th day or the 3rd day or whatever, right? Like, there's obviously content within the WNBA. We just need our Stephen A's and our Shannon Sharps and our Pat McAfee's and everyone else to venture off into different avenues, or this conflict is just going to get worse.
Well, one of the things that's not true, Curly Fro, is that we would have had you on something else other than sports, because I had right here on my yellow pad to have you on to ask you what the hell happened to Hot 97 Summer Jam and why is it so trash? So that was also a topic that we're going to bring up with you.
Okay.
Once this whole WNBA thing happened, so
we're just waiting for you to get back from vacation.
Right. That's right. We were going to ask you why so many empty seats and why is Summer Jam so bad from Hot 97 right now. But I mean, we were going to ask you, but the WNBA got in the way, so we'll talk about it.
I appreciate the WNBA for getting in the way.
But the other thing is too that Wiley and I talked about is the feeling of fans, the discourse on social media, feeling like everyone has to come to Caitlin Clark's defense because of the relatability of that's like my daughter getting knocked down, that kind of thing, right? Where she feels like she needs to be able to have that kind of protection. And even Caitlin Clark has quoted as saying, like, I grew up with 2 brothers. I understand.
Yeah.
welcome to the league rookie moment. This is not the first time it's happened in sports, because it's happened to Caitlin Clark, there's this feeling of that she's being bullied or pushed around. But this has been in sports forever, male or female. And I just wonder whether or not you feel like this has been that overall it's been covered properly, that aspect of it, of feeling like she needs to be protected by the big, mean women of the veterans of the WNBA.
I think it's been so overblown, y'all. I think everything that happens to this young woman becomes a story, right? Like, I think if the WNBA had like a villain who just blew air on her, it would be on the news for days upon days. I do think we have reached a point where this is overblown. This is overblown. As you said, rookies get hazed. They get hazed. In all sports, rookies get hazed. In the WNBA, I don't think we'd be having this conversation without Caitlin Clark, honestly. Without and I'm going to use this word it's not polite, but the tenderness of the people who seem to have followed her into the league. It's all very soft. When we're watching an NBA game, people constantly talk about, how you can't foul, you can't do this, you can't do that, whatever. And in the women's game, it's happening. They're playing that pure basketball that the majority of it happens under the rim. It's physical. You got people who get low to the ground to guard you. Like, this is some serious defensive basketball. And so to see folks in prominent positions get on television and get on the radio and say, don't defend her that way. Don't double team her. To me, it's offensive to anyone who is a competitor. It's like the idea of letting someone win because they're getting all this attention. Why? When in fact, as a competitor, I would think anyone would know you're just making the opposite case. You got all this attention. Oh, people came to see you. They're gonna play up to those sorts of things. I think it's normal, and this is just completely overblown. It is maddening, honestly, that I have to even say something about some of this stuff because it should just be basic. Like, oh, Kennedy Carter fouled her. Sure, it was off ball. It was definitely mean. And then she trolled after. Yes. And everyone's like, this is, no, this is all bad. Is it? This is a part of sports. Hating, trolling, disliking the popular guy. It's a part of sports. As long as no one is getting hurt for real, and there's no real damage to anyone, I don't see why this has to continue to be, a long conversation. And keep in mind, y'all, we got plenty of basketball to be played. We're still in the first month. We just hit the 2-week mark. There's so much basketball to be played. And then we're going to have the All-Star break. Then we have the Olympic break. Are we going to be talking about what happened to Caitlin Clark over those breaks? Probably.
Yeah.
It's all incredibly overblown. I'm hoping that at some point it dies down, but I don't think it will.
This does appear to be the most important storyline to a lot of media members and even some fans. But as someone who has covered the league for years and who is aware of the legends and the trailblazers who helped pave the way for the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses of the world to become millionaires upon entering the league, what would you like to see the media and fans do more to cover, the legends of the game? Even as far back as the Cheryl Millers of the game, I would like to see them pay respects to them.
Well, one of the things that I try to do in my work that I would encourage anyone else to do, whether it's on a pod or whatever, is there's typically a line from history forward. And if an opportunity presents itself to tell a story of a player of the past, I think we should take those. I think when we talk about these stats or these records that are being broken, when you mention the player, don't just say, the first person sense. That becomes an opportunity to introduce people to that previous player. So I think bringing the history forward is super important, and I would love to see more people do that. Aren't a ton of historians or storytellers within the WNBA space right now, because even though the league itself is 27 years old, the people who cover it are also about 27 years old. There are a lot of very young people. So, and they're doing great work. I'm not taking away from the work they're doing, but I'm just saying you got young people presenting other young people with new information. So the history there, they don't really think of it. And that's an opportunity to tell. I also think I would like to see more from women's basketball analysts. If you're having a conversation about the game, bring in the women who talk about it. Bring in the women who are there. That will make up for the fact that we all can't watch everything and we can't watch every game, but you can sort of know what's happening and bring in, a Monica McNutt or a Tarika Foster Brasby and say, hey, we saw this happening. What do you think? Can you break down this play? Can you break down this situation? I think opportunities like that open up the space a little bit more, right? It keeps it from being super homogenous. We get those voices who have been around a long time, they get out there, and we're able to hear different perspectives. Another thing that I'd really like to see is stories on the coaches. We are finally at the point in the WNBA where there are no more coach/GMs. James Wade of the Sky was the last one. So now you have a whole new position, particularly in Chicago, to talk about. You got a GM, you got a coach, you can talk about those stories, you can talk about coaching philosophies. Something I find to be really interesting in listening to Teresa Weatherspoon is what her coaching philosophy was. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to evolve over the season. In the off season, in the preseason, Teresa Weatherspoon was, we're going to work on chemistry and the X's and O's will come. Right? But in July, is she still going to be there? Is she going to have a different take? This is a woman who has a strong defensive background. So I'm really interested in more stories on, like I said, coaching philosophies, GMs. What are they thinking? There are so few spots in the WNBA. There technically are 144, but not every team carries, a full roster because of financial constraints, this, that, and the third. So I'd love to know what the GMs are thinking. I would really love to know that. I don't want to wait until draft night and find out, oh, this is what the Sky are thinking. They're going big, right? I think more engagement with the teams from top to bottom could help just create a better environment for fans. I think it could create a better environment for the players. Well, I don't think that journalists or media, I don't think our role is to grow the league. I don't think that. That's obviously not the role. But I do think that in us doing our jobs and doing our jobs correctly, that is sort of a benefit is, okay, there are more eyes on this. There are more people paying attention. There's more to talk about. So those are just a few of the things. Clearly, I've thought about this. Those are just a few of the things that I would do. I could go on about this forever just because I think about it on a regular basis.
We're recording, so your column is done. So I'll just send this over to you. The column's already.
I gotta tell you, I was writing right before this. Yeah. I've been this is my second podcast of the day, same topic. And I've been writing in between. And it's been great because I get to get these ideas off in these conversations and then hop back and, on my laptop and write some more. So I might be send me that.
It's here's a quote. My quote for the Chicago Sky is stop running your team like a D2 team.
Agreed.
And so that's my quote is to, hey, you're here now. You have stars on the team. Everyone, Ryan Rucco is a homie, and I like him very much. Lead broadcast for ESPN because he loves the Chicago Sky, the way things are going for the team. The championship, the dip, and now trying to get back up there again. The Chicago Sky's got to understand that this is a big market. and you got to start running your team like a big market. This ain't, D2 college. This is big time. Okay, this matters because look at the Chicago sports landscape. Cubs and Sox are not playing well at this point in time. Blackhawks rebuilding. Bulls are stagnant. The Bears are building. So the Sky have room. They have room on my show with Cap every morning. People looked at me and Wiley. You listen every day. 3 years ago, I was talking about the Chicago Sky, and people looked at me like I had turds for earrings. And I'm just like, no, dude, this matters, right? So, it mattered to me 3 years ago, 5 years ago. It matters to me now. So it's a storyline that's needed, Curly Furrow. We need that because with the Bears being at a certain level, and then the rest of it's kind of like, okay, we need the Sky to be a talking point. We need page 2, page 3, page 4 for us as talk show hosts. So.
Well, I really think the thing with this guy, to kind of jump off of what you said about the way they run the team, is that's huge. I've written about it a few times in some columns of mine, but it's huge. Everything that they do right now could make the franchise, could also break the franchise, right? Like the league standard is changing. And there is no denying it. You have to come with the multi-million-dollar practice facility. You have to come with proximity to major metro areas. You have to come with a forward-thinking, female-centered organization, right? Like you have to come with the science. There's why are women tearing, or getting knee injuries and ACL injuries at such a tremendous rate. And all of these things factor in to owning a professional team now, especially a team of women. You're going to have the issue of pregnancy. You're going to have the issue of motherhood and kids coming along. And the WNBA, in my opinion, wasn't ready for this moment. And the Sky are an example of not being ready for this moment as well. We have stories out that, the Sky are shirking their media responsibilities. And like, at what point do you start running the team like a pro club? And this is it. You're going to have to spend the money. You're going to have to talk to the media. Ownership is going to have to start showing up for things, right? Media day, I was expecting an update because we heard for months we're hoping to announce the practice facility ahead of the regular season. Well, here we are. We're in the regular season. I haven't heard anything. No one's heard anything. Mm-hmm. And there's no update. That's in Chicago in sports, there's expectations. You won in 2021. What are you going to do now? Like, that's what people are looking at. Okay, what's next? You want us to support you. What are you going to do? You got Angel Reese. Yes. And Camila Cardoso in the same draft. Why have we not seen these stories? Where are these stories? Where is my Angel Reese feature? Where's the Camila Cardoso feature? Like, these things have to happen. Run the team like a team. Even the Bulls are doing better at, that sort of thing. They at least will say, hey, do you want to talk to a guy who doesn't play here anymore, but we still really love him?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's important that they get out in the community. You're a Chicago team. Let Chicago see you. You're on the South Side. Adopt that identity. There's just so much they're not doing. And I don't think they were ready.
Well, she can't be here all night because we have to talk at some point. So, Shakia, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on the show. Hope that you return and be part of our show again.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. I look forward to coming back.
That column's going to be fire. It's going to be fire. It's going to be you and me and Wiley. It's going to be great, man. I told you. We're going places. I'm telling you. Thank you, Shakia Taylor, the Chicago Tribune, with us here on the Under the Hood with John the Hood podcast. Great conversation.
Yeah, a lot of great insight.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised she didn't, well, I can see sort of the results, but she didn't believe the league was ready for this type of popularity. And you would think that a league would always prepare themselves for, the takeoff, but she doesn't believe they were ready for it.
I think that's fair to say. I mean, because look, so you're the league and you see Caitlin Clark setting it on fire because no one's ever set it on fire like that before. I mean, nothing against Elena Deladon or Candace Parker, just like solid players, Hall of Fame players that's in the league. But something about Iowa, something about Caitlin Clark, something about someone that has not shot the ball like that before, set it on fire. And if you're the league, Wiley, it's like, okay, she's going to be coming to our league. We got to make sure we're prepared. Indianapolis was prepared. I mean, this is like a hero's welcome for her. But the rest of the league and the infrastructure isn't there yet. After 26, 27 years of this, they're not ready. And so now this is why when Angel Reese comes out, she's like, hi, everybody. There's like 6 people from media. There's no balloons. There's no little black girls and white girls, from grammar school or from high school welcoming her, that kind of thing, that whole hero's welcome. She didn't get that. Cardoso didn't get that. So that's the whole thing there. Jay Critch says that they've been jumping on Angel Reese since she beat Caitlin Clark for the national championship and letting Caitlin know who got a ring. The media went off on her. Anytime someone fouls her too hard, it takes over the sports news cycle the next day. There's no question about that. So it's, to me, I just think it's interesting. It's what I told you, because I was like, look, we can't wait for Bears to be able to open up training camp officially, 1. But 2, we always need that extra story.
Yes.
The Sky happen, and the Cubs and Sox happen to be those stories. So, so hopefully that'll work out. And as far as Teresa Weatherspoon's concerned, I think we know what she's about. She's about hard-nosed defense.
Yes.
This shit'll happen again. This will be another hard foul. That's what she's coaching.
You need that. It sends a message, and it has other teams, on edge, which in turn could give you an edge, as a team, because we know players don't like physicality. So having that edge is a positive. Chicago tough too. Chicago tough.
A couple of things before we wrap up that we got to get to. First, I need to know about our mascot. So he's being fat shamed, you said.
Yes. So every time we've been to the vet, and he's just made 5, so I guess this will be like 5 trips.
Yes.
Each time we go, they're fat shaming him, and to my eyes, he's sleek and slim. But they put him on
your dog Rocky, our mascot on this show,
yes,
is being fat shamed, and you're saying that you seem slim to you.
Yes, but they're always like, oh, well, this is about it right here. And then 20 pounds later, they're like, definitely no more than this. So I think he's been working out. He's been getting himself in peak condition, and I think he has reached the point where he should be at weight. And so hopefully we go back in a couple months. They're not like, oh my God, he's too big, because I don't like to have my dog fat shamed, and it upsets the entire house when we hear things about him needing to lose a couple pounds or 20 pounds or whatever else. So
that's right. Well, how's Rocky feel about that? When you had a conversation with Rocky, your dog, what does Rocky say?
He doesn't like it, and he says that the female dogs, they like his size, so he wasn't interested in dropping any weight, because they were into his size. So, and I agree with him.
Your dog is thick.
Right.
Is Rocky going to the club? Well, I don't understand. Like, what's the problem? What's wrong with the dog being a little thick? It's okay.
Right. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Leave your comments, by the way, as we start to wrap up our podcast here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for YouTube, for Facebook, and for Twitch. By the way, we have this podcast simply because this is better than a long text conversation that Wiley and I would normally have about sports. So that's why we thought, just hit record. That way we don't have to keep texting each other for the whole week about our thoughts. We just put it right here for everyone to hear our thoughts on this podcast. So as I told you, Cuzzo, where is it? As I told you, I spent time in Texas, in East Texas. And there you go. Went to a Houston Astros game on Saturday. Twins against the Astros. And, really good, really solid 41,000 seat Minute Maid ballpark. And that's where the Astros play. If I lived in Houston, I'm not sure I could be an Astros fan. I don't know if that works for me. I don't know. But I liked the stadium. It was cool. Quick ball game, 2 hours and 19 minutes, in and out really quickly. This is my second time being in Houston proper. A lot of traffic. Ooh, a lot of traffic. Have you been there? Have you been to Houston?
Have not.
A lot of traffic. In between there and Beaumont and Galveston, a lot of traffic on the main roadways there. But one thing I want to talk to you about is this whole thing about going to go get lunch or dinner, sitting down someplace, having lunch or dinner, and to have the gratuity baked into the bill. Now here, I'll just say, without trying to be a braggart, I'm just saying, I understand the service industry. I do understand that, hey, it's okay if you have it, you should overtip, because we know that the men and women that work in the service industry, they work hard, they're on their feet. And it's kind of like, well, if I have it and I have it, I will overtip, because I don't need a suggestion. That's the other thing too. In Houston, I went to several places, really nice restaurants. It's a top 10 market, size-wise, Houston. Why is it that on Saturday night when we went out, then we get the bill, and there's a 25% gratuity already on the bill? 25%. Not 10, not 5. 25%. I'm like, well, wait. If it's 25%, you can imagine if it's Peacock and okay, so drinks, a lot of drinks, okay?
Yes.
It's like, and no state tax in Texas. Don't mess with Texas. No state tax, goddammit. $150 or something like that, right?
Right.
But then you're adding another 25%, sometimes 30% in some of the places we went to in Houston. That is a ton.
That is.
Now, for me, because the service was excellent, I'll probably tipping you something like that anyway. But then when you say, well, the bill's not complete until you pay the $230, $240, $250, whatever. And it's like, well, I was going to tip you something similar to that anyway. So now, what do you do in that spot? Do you tip whatever else he's going to tip on top of the gratuity it's already baked in? How do you do that?
It's tough because, to your point, well, darling, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. Yes.
I'm not sure what the tip etiquette is, because I missed the memo. But there are a lot of places where you're being told or being asked to tip. Like, even if you're picking up food from a counter, you're being asked, what do you want to tip? So I'm not sure what tip etiquette is, but in generally speaking, and we're the same way, we have no problem tipping. But when you're demanding the tip or demanding a dollar amount, it kind of cheapens, the whole thing, because we're not employers of the people who are in those establishments. We're consumers, and if there is an amount or wage that the business wants to provide their employees, they should provide that. We can help supplement that, but we shouldn't be there solely to provide that wage that's being shared. Not even, because a lot of times those things aren't being given to the person who provided the excellent service. They're being shared with people who we never saw. So if I want to tip someone who provided me excellent service, let me tip that person directly. Don't suggest a tip and then share it with others inside the establishment, because it's not what I'm there for.
Listen, we know cheap brothers and sisters. We know we go to Papa Do's, and then you have a $200 bill, and then you give them $5 for a tip. Well, that's improper.
Right.
You shouldn't do that shit, right? You should not do that.
Right.
You should be able to, especially if the service is top notch. They bust their ass doing everything they can. Like, I try to go, if I have it, and I have it in my back pocket, just to be able to just give what is necessary. But the idea that I can have $150 bill for dinner, and then before I can put my credit card down, it's like, oh no, it's not just 150, it's 25 to 30% gratuity baked in. It's like you said, like where's the money? Who's getting that money? Who's
Right.
getting the baked in gratuity? Is it my server who was excellent? Or
Probably not.
okay,
No.
well then, but they put that in place ultimately in Texas, at least where I was, because it's like, well, we don't have any state tax, but we're gonna get you one way or the other, right? And also we get the suggested ones. We get it. I think we get this in Chicago, right? You go to a place, you've taken out a lot of people, a lot, and we haven't met any of them this year, but you take out a lot of people, and it says on the bottom 20%, 25%, 30%, like the suggested on the bottom, right? So it's suggested. Okay, well, a guy like me, Wiley, I'll meet you in the middle at some point. It won't be the cheapest at 20. It won't be 35, but depending on the service, I'll get you, and you'll have a good tip. But the idea, man, like they're doing all this, it's like, to me, I just thought that was a little bit of a robbery down there.
It is.
In Governor Abbott's state. I thought that was a little bit of a robbery.
And he doesn't have a leg to stand on to do something like that.
We'll move on to the Cubs and Sox now as they get. Oh God, why did I set you up for that? The Cubs and the White Sox taking place this week. Boy, I know that you have some numbers, and I got some numbers as well of what is going on with these two teams. I told my broadcast partner, David Kaplan, I said to him, we do Cap and J Hood weekday morning 7 to 10 on ESPN 1000 and streaming on the ESPN Chicago app. We talked so much about how I think that the Cubs are a playoff team. I think that and by the way, EC got that, by the way, because right there. Right. Eric Collins got your joke. Whatever have it. Nonetheless, I said I felt like before the season that the Cubs could be a playoff team, and they're not performing like that at all. I mean, you've seen what's happened, right? I mean, it's not good. It's not good. By the way, the Houston game, I went to Houston and the Twins. I saw the scoreboard. You know, Abreu, by the way, is playing for the Astros. He's in eighth in that lineup. We saw him like as a masher, like the third or fourth in the lineup, like dangerous, right? Hitting eighth, hitting 111. But we did see him hit a home run, and I'm like, he did it for me, because I still root for Abreu, right? And
yes.
Let me just tell you this: this dude, right before first pitch, is stretching on the field at first base. Like he had the trainer, and he's trying to run. And get the rubber band, the long the straps, the whole. He's still stretching out legs. Like he's so old now. He's stretching out like 2 hours before the game. He did hit a home run though, so it might be his last of the season. But he hit one in my presence on Saturday. He's at the end, that's for sure.
Hood, that I was going to call him a kid. I shouldn't do that. That guy left it all on the field and made you proud. Proud to have a guy like that on your team. He would play with duct tape, ligaments or whatever it took for him to get on the field. He will go out there and give it his all. He couldn't run, couldn't do much of anything, but he showed up every fucking day and gave you everything he had. And that's all you can ask as a fan of any player. It's like, are you giving it your all? And he did that every game. So I was as a fan, I was sad to see him go, but I was, happy he was able to get the money he was looking for. I just wish he would have been able to get a championship last year, but it didn't work out that way. But yeah, I'm a huge, huge fan. But to your point of the Cubs, this to me feels like a Theo team where you have the pitching staff, lights out, and the bats just aren't showing up. I mean, there isn't one guy on the team, Hood, who's hitting above 265. Like, how do you have a roster without one player above 265? And the starters, what they're doing right now isn't sustainable. So at some point, they're going to fall off, and you got a shit bullpen. You have a shit bullpen, and you have hitters who aren't showing up, and you got a $40 million manager. I know some way. Grandpa is looking like, hey, I could have done this shit right here. You could have kept me. Grandpa Ross like, hey, you could have kept me. I could have done the same thing. And that is the good side of baseball in town. We got on the fucking south side, we have, and I say this with all due respect, we have a motherfucker who's on the south side right now, Hood, who's been here for a year and a half, and he's 70 games under 500, Hood.
Yeah.
How is that possible? We complained about Tony La Russa on the bench. We talked about him taking a nap. We talked about him shitting himself. All these things. A shitty Tony La Russa would never be 70 games under 500. He can wake up out of a coma and find a way to get you to 500. And we have all these fucking Royals, from the manager to the GM to the fucking third base coach. Where are the leagues? Where are the leagues? Where are they at? Where are they at to come hop the fence and do what they're supposed to do to help this Chicago White Sox team? Because I don't see where we go. Because even right now, we have such a shit team, Hood, and I believe the best we can draft is 10th. So for a historically bad team, you won't even get the best pick in the draft. The best you probably can possibly get, I believe, is 10th. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
No, I agree. No, I understand. But you knew this was going to be a rebuild, and it was going to be painful. But I think that if nothing else, this exposes to you that Chris Getz's farm system was the shits, and that obviously when you tank and you get rid of assets, that you're not trying to win. You didn't win with Moncada when he was healthy. You didn't win with Aloy and Abreu and all these other guys when they were healthy. You didn't win with Dylan Cease when he was healthy over the last couple of seasons. So that's why you move forward, and you're going to rebuild this thing. That's fine. But it's not like you have kids that's in the minor leagues that's going to save this thing. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, oh, your White Sox, they're so bad. Like, you can't troll me on the White Sox, man. I know that they're bad. I understood what the farm system was before Chris Getz took the team over. Like, the only reason why he's in this position is because he's trying to usher in something new for this Sox team for the future. But I'm here to tell you, Cuzzo, this ain't getting better until 2030. It's just not. And people laugh and think that's hyperbole. It's not. Because a lot of teams, it takes them 6 to 8 years to get exactly where they need to be. And that means you got to rebuild your farm system. All these guys, I like Corey Lee. I like him as a catcher on the team. But you're few and far in between of actual stars, or you're few and far in between as far as difference makers on the team for the future that you can point out and say, yep, I like that guy, I like that guy, I like that, because you don't have it. You don't have it in the minor leagues. You don't have it on the big league ball club. You don't have multiple guys you can point at besides like Luis Roberts, Corey Lee, who I like, and then a pitcher or two. But ultimately, it takes a while to build this thing. And people ask me about Pedro Cafal. Look, I know Pedro was over his head when he took the job. When he first took the job, I said to you, who? Bench coach for Kansas City? So he's going to teach the Kansas City way. A bad team. A bad organization. You're going to learn. He's going to teach the White Sox the Kansas City model. What does that mean? Now you see what it looks like.
Hood, when Rick Hahn, the great Rick Hahn, was on your on your show, and he said, "Stay tuned."
Yeah,
I did not know what he meant by that. Yeah. I thought he meant like the Sox were geared to have success last year. I didn't know he meant that the shit I put together is going to be historically bad, that you won't want to watch this team for another fucking decade, and I don't even with Rodriguez, another Royal, because we don't have enough Royals around. We need to, like, even in the game that close, why send the guy when you know he has no chance of scoring? Like, why send the guy when he has zero chance of scoring, and Pham is Bam is the only about the only guy on the team who has a fucking pulse.
Yes, that's not what you were going to say, but go ahead. He's a real what? What was you going to say? A real what?
He's family.
Okay.
He's family.
I mean,
he's about the only guy who has a pulse. Hood. I know this is just like we're discussing. Who's the all-star? Is it Fetty? Is it
Crochet?
Yeah. Is it Fam? Like who is the all-star?
Maybe Crochet's got a 3. He got sub 4 ERA and he's 5-5. There's a guy you can build with. That's one of the guys. That's a guy here that didn't even know he's gonna get the ball opening day. He was like, me?
Right.
I've never started before. No, you're gonna be the starter. All right. And he's done fine. Now that arm, that arm motion is destined for Tommy John again at some point. But I'm just saying, like, that guy there is one of the cornerstones of the franchise. But what does that really mean?
Right.
What does that really mean? I mean, when you won 15 ball games, yeah, 15-45. So what I'm saying is that what we're seeing, this doom and gloom, is going to continue. This will not last. And what's so funny about this is to complete the circle on it. So you want a new stadium on Roosevelt and Canal, like you want a new stadium, and you put that shit on the ball out there for everyone to see. It's hard to follow. It's hard to watch the team when you have a manager that should be fired. You have a team that's not going anywhere. Tommy Pham's the only guy with it's Tommy Pham, and I believe who was the other catcher? Was it over the weekend? Was it Corey Lee?
Yeah.
Who said that the team is not flat. What is that? Wasn't that the quote from Grafal saying the team was fucking flat? Is that used?
Yeah, he tried to be a tough guy, after losing, almost 200 games. It's like, oh yeah, this is, we need to get the fuck out. Go back to Kansas City. Take all your boys with you. Just leave.
Very few have a heartbeat in that locker room. But when you get beat down like a dead dog, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I just, look, I know it's bad, and I will still offer you tickets if you want to go. If the youngin and you and I and Cuzzo Maceo wants to go and get hammered at a Sox game, we can do that. That's no problem.
Always.
Okay, so I'll put that on the group text. But on the Cubs side of the ledger, though, I'll just say that like the team is underachieving greatly. Half games behind coming into this one. I know they say you got to throw out the records with Cubs and Sox. I'm not sure about that. I mean, like the Cubs could probably eat pretty well against the White Sox. That wouldn't surprise me. But I'm just saying, like this Cubs team, for all the talk of like, oh, you got a difference maker in Craig Counsell as a manager. Well, to your point, is Ross in the same spot? Maybe because they've had a lot of injuries early, but it doesn't mean that they got to continue to play like this. Early, you had a lot of injuries, yes, guys in and out of the lineup. But the underachievement offensively says a lot. What's the stat that you sent me here about the Cubs and Sox? Yeah. So Cubs baseball or Chicago baseball the last 3 weeks. So the Sox are 30th in wins, 30th in runs a game, 26th in batting average, 30th in OBP, 28th in slugging, and 29th in OPS. And the Cubs are just as bad. 29th in wins, 29th in runs per game, 30th in batting average, 29th in OBP, 30th in slugging, and 30th in OPS. Both teams are playing horribly.
Yes.
Both teams from Jay Cuda. So they're both playing bad. There you have it. Pretty horrible.
Yeah. When does training camp start again?
That's all you care about.
It's brutal. It's brutal, Cuzzo. It is. I don't want to say it's as bad as it's ever been, but it feels that way right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Let me see what else we have here in the comments as we start wrapping up. Terry's right behind you, man. Terry makes a great point. He's like, I understand. Terry's Peep says that Abreu had to be sacrificed for Andrew Vaughn. Well, Andrew Vaughn is as close to bust as you'll find.
Yes.
They tried. All I want to see is Gavin Sheets and Andrew Vaughn for 400 at bats. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, like show me what you got. And Andrew Vaughn, I have not seen the stats lately because I try to get away from bad baseball for a while. And I went from bad baseball to mediocre baseball with the Astros, by the way. They're not good this year either.
Andrew Vaughn is greatly improved. He no longer has the same amount of home runs that I had. So for a while we had the same amount of home runs. So, he is taking a step in a positive direction. But
Terry says, thank God we got John Schrippen.
Yes.
The voice of the Chicago White Sox.
We're not going to take that. Stand up.
Dude, let me tell you. Let me just say this on the record about John Schrippen. So I guess I'm the only person that got a chance to interview the new voice of the White Sox, because before the season it was me and Courtney Cronin. We interviewed him, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Nice conversation. It wasn't spectacular. Try to throw him off a little bit by saying, what's your favorite ballpark food? I think he gave me like a shrimp or a lobster thing. I think that's the first thing he said. Not like hot dogs, hamburger.
Chicago hot dog, yeah.
Yeah, now he gave me like shrimp or lobster or whatever. Okay, it's fine.
What did K-Dot say? Not one of us?
I did not say that. I just thought it was very odd. I did ask him what it was like to be, the feeling of being a black play-by-play man. Gave a good answer about that too, because he's that. But the point about Schrippen is this: is that Schrippen is got to be able to usher Sox fans along to keep the entertainment going in a bad situation. You're 15 and 45. It's about storytelling or trying to get the most out of Steve Stone at this point. I mean, Schrippen is coming across, and definitely he has an edge, a little bit of a red ass, because he sounds like Hawk Harrelson in some ways. Like, I know that he's for the team. It's his first year, but like he's yelling the mic about, I know that we've had a lot of L's this year, but not from – it's like, well, I'm not sure if the chairman wants you to talk about all the L's that the White Sox have had. This like, for all the haters, don't know if the haters are like his own haters on social or haters of the White Sox, whatever. Just very young and inexperienced broadcast at times. And my only advice to him is, hey man, just call the game. Just call the game. Like, we understand that you're the voice of the team and all that, but it's ultimately, this is Stone's broadcast.
Yeah.
It is. It's his broadcast. It's like, he's been there the longest. He's got all the stories. He can be able to keep it light. And I would just say, just keep it entertaining for the few Sox fans that are watching at this point in time. Now, here's the thing. I don't have no comment about his play-by-play because I've heard very little of it. Because I'm a Len and DJ guy. I listen on ESPN 1000 because that way I'm watering the grass. I can be on the move, and I can listen to the play-by-play. And if I need to see a replay, I'm DVRing the game. But so I've heard very little of him. But those highlights, those little sound bites, it's like, dude, just call it.
So in fairness to it, yeah, you can tell he's a little young, a little excited about, the big market. That said, I think some of the criticism has probably been over the top. And here's why I say that. As someone who wasn't a huge fan of Benetti, I felt like there were times where, because he was friendly with the media, he got a pass for some of the things. Like, even at the end where he took a shot at Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf probably hasn't been the greatest owner over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
But no one can question Jerry Reinsdorf as an employer. Like, he is top notch. He takes care of the people who work under him, probably to a fault. He's probably loyal to a fault. Mm-hmm. So to question that man as you're walking out the door to take a job with a rival team, I thought was low class. But the media generally gave Benetti a pass for that. And they gave him a pass for a lot of stuff. And they go from that to criticizing a guy who's clearly new and trying to get used to a big market. Within his first couple weeks, they're criticizing him for everything he does. And I think, to me, it seems unfair. It seems like guys who were willing to give Benetti a pass are now looking to bully the new guy, and that to me seems unfair. 50, what's going on, 50?
Curtis Jackson checking in. So that's fair. That's fair. I have nothing against him. I'm just saying, like, you know, for him, just it's a tough season, man.
Yeah.
Just call like this whole thing, like Tommy Pham gets excited. Doesn't mean that you got to start.
Right.
You gonna do something, Griffin?
He's at a wrestling match.
Yeah,
stand up.
Yeah. You gonna fight somebody?
Yeah, we're not taking that. Yeah,
it just, I don't know.
Lots of energy.
It sounded better when Hawk was doing it because Hawk did have fight.
Yes.
And he called.
He would go down. He would go downstairs. Like, yeah, he was with the shit.
So that just said so. Well, you know what? We've had a fun show because we got a chance to get some perspective from Shakia Taylor, from the Chicago Tribune, talking about the W, talking about the Chicago Sky. That column's gonna be fire.
Yes.
I could tell the way she was talking. You talk to a writer and put them on as a guest, or if they're a host, you could hear the column in what they say, right? You could hear like, okay, so whatever she's gonna write in the Chicago Tribune, she supported this show. We want you to support her as well. I've been wanting to have her on for a long time. Baseball head too, by the way. Big baseball fan. Is Curly Pearl. So, well, we're homies. I can call her that. And by the way, that's her social media handle. I hope I wasn't too offensive. That's her name. All right. Any more comments? Because we're going to close this up and bring in our mascot Rocky. Is there anything else that we missed, sir?
I think we got it all.
What about this weekend? Any exploits this weekend?
No comment.
Oh, come on. No
comment. My daughters are back, so you know I am. Are
they upstairs?
Yes, I am. I'm a choir. I'm a choir boy. You know?
Oh, for heaven's sakes!
Yes.
Because you're afraid. You're afraid they're going to see this. That's why
they won't. You know, I am a stand-up guy.
Well, that's good that you have that stamina that you can be a stand-up guy. Good. I don't have that, but I'm glad that you still have the power to be a stand-up guy. Me and myself, I like on the side. You know, that's good to know that you're still a stand-up guy. All right, we bring in the mascot now,
Rocky.
That's always a stand-up guy.
There we go.
There's the mascot Rocky, who is apparently a little bit overweight for the vet, a little bit too thick. That's amazing. Well, folks,
he said the bitches like him like that.
Well, he and Pat McAfee have something in common.
Right.
Yeah. All right. How about you and I do this next week? We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Training camp is going to be opening up pretty soon, so
absolutely.
Let's talk again because we got plenty to talk about. We appreciate you checking out the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the Underhood with Jonathan Hood podcast and follow along. Hit that subscribe button on Facebook, on Twitch, and on YouTube as well. And we'll talk to you next time.
Buy merchandise too. Get the merchandise.
Yeah. Don't show that. Oh. Don't show the hand. Don't. Oh, man. So long, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. Don't have the dog bite you. Don't you? Guess he's just practicing for later, folks.
Right.
Yeah. He likes that, I guess. Kinky.